in today's video, we're going to talk about questions that you should be asking estate agents whilst you're out visiting a property. This video will give you confidence in helping you making the right decision around your investment property. Before we get straight to it, I think it's worth mentioning that I am an investor who works in South Wales, and I look to work with people who want to invest their money in property and get a great return in property, but just don't have the time to do it themselves. If you think that's you, reach out and let's have a chat and see how I can help you. So one of the questions you want to ask is, what is the situation with the seller? Why are they selling this house? You want to know this information because there might be a reason that you should be aware of as to why they're selling. Now, maybe that there's issues with the properties, or there's something completely wrong and they want to get out of it as quickly as possible, or someone's inherited the property. Knowing this just allows you to understand the history about this property and why the owner wants to sell. Okay, I kind of merged two questions there. I was about to say, what's the situation with the seller, and then why do they want to sell? I genuinely ask those two questions differently because you get different answers. Sometimes you get the same answer, sometimes you don't. Because what's wrong with the situation of the seller, or what's right with it, might have nothing to do with why they're selling the property. So I tend to ask, what's the situation with the seller? What is going on with them? And then, what's the situation with the house? Why are they selling this house? Do you see where I'm going with that? It's two different questions, which usually gets two different answers, unless the agent's been lazy and they just give you one answer. The next question I would tend to ask is, what exactly is included in the sale of this house? Now, if you want to know what that looks like, look at auction properties. Their legal packs usually tell you every single thing you need to know about the house, because the legals would have been done ahead of time before the actual sale. So auction properties give a good indication of what type of things to be looking out for and what's included. Usually you would have a title, and the title would have a big red line around all the land area that's included. So you would get everything within that red line. It's called a boundary line. You want to know where that is on the property, and then also looking in the property and outside, what exactly is included. There have been surprises when people come back to buy a house and there are fences missing, gates missing. I mean, things that you can't even, I guess you can transfer them to another property, but people have spent so much on these external things, and of course internal, white goods, beds, certain things that property people would have used to spruce up that property. It all is taken with them. So you want to know that ahead of time, so you know exactly what you will be buying if you like the house. It just helps you make an informed decision too, doesn't it? Next, you want to know, is the property a freehold or a leasehold? Leasehold properties usually are on a ground, which you would be paying ground rent for, and then usually you're only buying that immediate space within the property. You can get leasehold homes, you can get leasehold flats. I mean, most flats are usually leaseholds. You want to know this ahead of time so you'll be aware of any other associated costs that come with a leasehold. Usually there's service charge and ground rent. Then you have freeholds. Freeholds, you get everything and the land is on, okay? So nothing else that you would need to be paying monthly. It's good to know this ahead of time because there's some investors who only do freeholds only, some investors who do leaseholds only. If that's you, ask that question ahead of time so you get no surprises. How long has this property been on the market for? You would like to know whether or not it's been on the market for 9 months, 18 months, 6 weeks, or 1 day. Knowing the answer to this question will help you to tailor your offer. It will also help you to understand if this property has been on the market for a long time, you'd want to know why. And if it's only coming within a day, then you got to be really serious with that offer. If it's been on the market for a long time, that could be an indication that people have come and offered, they have tried to purchase the house, and for whatever reason, it's fallen out of bed. Agents would have to disclose any information that may have come out from doing searches or findings or in any investigations that may have been done on the property. They would need to tell you this. So if it's been on the market for say 18 months and no one wants to buy because there's structural issues, the agent would have to tell you that. But it's good to know in the first place how long it's been on the market, so it helps you then tailor your offer should you like the property. Another question to ask that's quite similar to the last question is, how long has this homeowner been trying to sell the property for? It could be that it's only been on the market with that particular agent for 3 months, but they've actually been trying to sell for 12 months. Sometimes when an agent is not performing well, the homeowner will then pass it on to another agent, and then they will go on to another agent until an agent gets it sold. It's nice to know this information because it helps you identify whether there's a bit of motivation going on. How long has it been on the market with you? Yes, that's good to know, but how long has it also been on the market in general? Or how long has he been trying to sell? Maybe he hasn't been trying to sell through the market and he's been trying offline, off market, going direct to people who are looking to buy, because a lot of people do that. As you drive around some areas, you can see that there's some people who've got their phone number in the properties. Perfect example. So you want to know how long have they been trying to sell the property for, and this gives you again an indication as to, is there something wrong with this property? What's wrong with the neighbors? What's going on in that area? I need to know. It just helps you ask a little bit more informed, in-depth questions. Another question to ask is there a lot of demand for this type of property in this area? The reason I like to know that as an investor, right? Key thing here is an investor, not a homeowner, is because I'm looking to make money on this house. I want to know if I'm buying it at this price, can I add some value and get my money back? That's the key thing I want to know. Or is there a lot of type of demand for this property for lettings? Maybe that you want to let out the house. You want to be able to get tenants in as quickly as possible, and you want to know is there demand for that type of person. It could be for sales, it could be for lettings. Either way, find out that information. That will help you to determine whether your exit strategy is going to work or not. If there's not a lot of demand for 2-bedroom properties in an area like this, and all you want to do is let out to families who would require 2 bedrooms, then there's no point in going any further. Another question you want to know, is this predominantly a homeowner occupies area, or is this predominantly a rental area? Who masters this market here in this immediate area? And that's a good question to know, because what you find is people who rent treat their homes differently to people who buy. If you're living in an area where there's mainly homeowners, you will find the area's a little bit more cleaner, it's a little bit more neater. The gardens look really nice. The front of the house might be painted some random colors. People put pride and joy into their own homes. But when you are renting, you find that sometimes the front garden, generally the front gardens aren't always that nice. The front doors look a bit messy, and the house may have chips and paints and stuff like that. That's not always the case, but when you do go around, generally that is what is the case. So you want to know what type of area that it is that you're renting in, that you're letting in, that you're buying in, so you can understand then whether or not it's worthwhile investing in that particular area. So for example, if you're looking to do a buy to sell strategy, you would want to be buying in an area where mainly there are homeowner occupiers, or at least there's a 50-50 split. But if you're looking to let a property, you would want to be looking to let in an area where there's generally people who are simply just renting, and you'd find that sometimes in some areas it's about 50%. Especially here where I'm based, you'll find that there's a huge mix. I mean, you can go on one road, 3, 4, 500,000 pound houses, and on the next road you've got 100,000 pound houses. It literally is that different, and I'm sure that's general around London, UK, England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland. I'm sure that's quite general anyway, but it's good to know this so you can decide whether or not it's the right area for your investment. Now, if you're looking to do the buy to sell strategy, a question you would want to know is, who would want to buy a house like this? Who's my typical buyer? And why would you want to know that? Because you need to know who your buyers are. It helps you then to develop the property in a way that would be tailored to that buyer. Similar, you would also want to ask the question, who would rent a property like this? Because you want to know what type of person is renting this property. Are they professionals? Are they social housing? Are they a mixture of both? Or are they going to be huge families or smaller families? You want to have an idea so you can really present that property to that person who will be coming in to rent, to buy, and therefore get that house and secure it as quickly as possible. Remember, with all of these questions, the aim is for you is to execute the exit strategy as quickly as possible. So if your exit is to buy and sell a house, your exit is the sale, that's how you get out of this deal, and you then want to know what that person looks like, who would be buying, so you can present the product to them. They come in on the first day you put that house on the market, it is sold. That's what you're looking for. If you're looking at buy to let strategy, it's the same thing. You want someone to walk into that house and say, I love it, please, here's my deposit, here's my 1 month rent, I want this house. That's what you want to do. So you want to present the house to that person, and you need to know who they are, what they look like, so you can tailor the deal to them. Another question you want to know is, what is the value of this property once it's been renovated to a good standard? Agents may be umming and ahhing about this because it depends on the standard you're going to deliver. Are you given a medium standard? Are you given a low end standard? Or are you going to give a high end standard? Let them know what standard you anticipate, so then they can give you an idea of what you'll be able to achieve. Of course, if you're going to do a house in marble flooring, marble, granite tops, beautiful kitchen cupboards and a nice open bath, Elizabeth bath. I made that up, but it sounds like it could be a nice bath. Then I should say Sabrina bath. Why would I do Elizabeth? Because Queen Elizabeth, royalty, you just think of that. But to me, that's not. Anyway. That obviously is going to fetch a different sale price to someone who's just got the Bob standard B&Q bath, B&Q kitchen, B&Q everything, right? So you want to know, give them an idea so they can tell you that information. Another question to ask is, if I want to sell this house quickly, what would be a realistic price? Or same, if I want to rent this house quickly, what would be a realistic rental income that I should expect? These questions help you to be able to work out your numbers and put your numbers in a calculator that can give you the ultimate idea of what you should be offering and what you should be securing this house at. This information is so fundamental, and I can't stress this enough. Look, if you even look on Homes Under the Hammer, these are the questions they ask the agents. Those are fundamental questions. Make sure you ask it so you can put that information into your spreadsheet and clarify your numbers before you move forward. Are you aware of any disputes with the neighbors? Are there any ongoing conflicts? You would want to know this because it could present a potential problem later on once you acquire this house and then have to either live in it yourself or rent it out. So knowing this information ahead of time is extremely useful. Another question is, are you aware of any current developments in the area that could affect this property? Now, they may or may not know, but things like the H2O, is it H2O, the H2 train line, right? That went through a lot of different boroughs. It's increasing values of properties. It's nice to know this information. You can also go to the local council and have a quick Google search yourself to see if there's any plans in the area, but it's good to know because it'll help you identify whether that value may potentially go up in capital growth or whether or not it might go down, because they might be putting in a huge building that's going to overshadow a beautiful view that you have, really limiting the amount of profit you can make. So ask that question. You want to know is this a conservation area, or is this a grade 2 or 1 or 3 listed building? And this is because you want to understand whether there's going to be any restrictions on you doing anything to the property, or if there's going to be any restrictions in the area with you changing to HMOs or changing to anything you want to change it to. So find out this information so you can ensure that any plan you may have can actually be done. So another question is this the final sale price, or are they open to negotiation? They might say yes. If she says yes or he says yes, then you want to know what is their final price. You want to get straight to it and cut through the nitty and gritty. Let's work to those numbers so you can just put in your offer straight away. It just cuts out a lot of hassle. Some estate agents are willing to share that information, which is great, but some aren't, and they're not willing, and they want to know what your price is. And because it might be their commission is based on the final sell price, and therefore they want the most as possible. But if they're not doing a commission only, and it's no matter what they sell the house for, it's going to be agreed that they get that set amount, then they will be happy to disclose that information to you and tell you everything you need to know. So please do ask that question. Another question is, what offers have they had so far? It allows you to know where you should be with your offer, or where they're at with their offers, and whether they're willing to accept a reasonable discount, or whether they're completely not willing to accept a discount at all, and you need to up your game. So it also gives you an indication of where you need to be with your offer. So this is very useful information so you can understand and anticipate what to expect in future. Final and fundamentally, the question I like to ask before I leave, is there anything else that I should know about this property or area before I leave today? And they will probably sit and think for a minute or two and say, no, I've told you everything you need to know, which is great because then you don't need to worry. But sometimes there is other things that do come up when you ask this question. And it's a fantastic question because there's things that whilst you've think you've covered everything in these questions. That's not always the case because it depends on the agent on the day, right? The information is as good as the answers. So you want to know what else is there that they may have not thought about with all those questions you've already asked. Is there anything else outstanding? And it just helps them to really just take a step back and think for a second. Like, for example, last week I was at an auction property and I'd done my walk around, and when I walked in I noticed that there was two couples really hogging the agent's time, asking loads of questions. I used to, when I was a newbie, dilly-dally around and let me hear what questions they're answering. Now I know what questions to ask. I thought, let them have their moment and then I'll come in and have mine. So at the end, I knew she had to take my details, so I gave her all my details, and then I started asking questions. Oh, it's my question time. So I said to her, hey, you know, what's going on with the property? She says, oh, I don't know nothing about the property. I said, nothing? She says, nothing. I said, well, let me ask you what you do know. Is this a freehold or a leasehold? I already knew it was, but it's just to get questions answered. You've got to start getting questions answered. She said, oh, it's a freehold. I said, okay, where's the legal pack ready? The legal pack's not ready. I said, yeah, I thought so because I did check this morning and I noticed it hadn't been done yet, and the auction's in like 5 days. So she said, it's not ready yet, but, you know, blah, blah, blah. So I started asking questions, and I said, what would you think about the condition? Because there's a part where the whole staircase is missing. And she's like, I know, I really, really want you to be careful when you were around there. Because I started asking questions and walking around at the same time, but in the same room, and the stairs were right by the door. And I was going to the dangerous area where I knew she'd be like, oh, can you be careful? So I said, oh, you know, oh, this area. So she's like, oh, please be careful. You know, then she started telling me a story about someone who was viewing a property, and they said, oh, it's fine, I got this, I view properties all the time. And then they ended up falling down the stairs. And I thought, oh god, at least you guys are covered by your insurance. That's what I said. I said, oh gosh, I bet you wasn't covered by your insurance, but no one really wants to claim off of that, right? She says, no one wants to do that. But you know, so just be careful. And I said, you know, I'm definitely going to be careful. So I said, is it me or did you notice there's cracks everywhere in this house? She says, yeah, I did notice that. And this is the time where you're picking their brains, because sometimes agents do know stuff. They just play dumb, right? And sometimes they don't know stuff and they are dumb. It's fine. So you don't know which one you got. So you got to just ask. And I mean, no disrespect to any agent watching this. This is nothing personal. So I just started asking questions. I said, look, you know, there's a big hole missing here. There's a big hole in this wall. It looks like there may have been a conservatory, right? So then we're trying to, so what I'm doing here is I'm trying to play, I want them to play my matchmaker, isn't it? I want them to look at this with me, dissect this with me, point things out with me. I'm trying to bring them in on this decision, do you see? So I said, oh my gosh, you know, I'm trying to get them invested in the property with me. So I said, oh, look at the windows. Didn't you find how that window's so odd? It doesn't even close properly. And did you notice that mirror upstairs? I'm not gonna lie, that mirror was nice. I was tempted to ask, can I have the mirror whether or not I buy the house or not, you know? And here we're building rapport. I'm lightening the mood. It's not so serious. Let's have a laugh. Let's have a joke. So then I start going outside and she starts asking me my details, and I gave her my name, my address, and all the information that they need. And then I said to her, you know what, this definitely was a conservatory, because if you look outside here, you can see the way how this was, that there would have been some structural here and structural here and structure here, and this would have been the foundation. And she's like, yeah, that's a good point. Actually, I never thought about it like that. And as well as that, I know somewhere, I saw somewhere, I do so much research sometimes when it comes to looking at a house. I mean, I dissect that damn bad boy, and I think I might do a video about that. And I do so much research that I end up finding stuff, and I forget that whether they presented that to me, whether I found it, but I've done so much research. I found that there was a conservatory. I found that I actually saw pictures of it. And then I ended up looking at the history of the house and seeing if there's any newspaper articles and looking for everything I could possibly find. And then I did find some information on the house. And then in the house, on the information, it had the inside of the house. So I saw that this person really did invest into their house. It was a homeowner who obviously had lost their home. But I also said to her, look, because there's so much cracks, when I was outside talking about the conservatory, I said, it's either this is what's called the cracks, or this house either has a bit of subsidence. Something else is going on here. She says, yeah, you're right. I was wondering why there would be so many cracks. And then I was staring at the garden. I was actually looking for Japanese knotweed, but then I noticed there were 2 manholes. And I said, oh, this is definitely a conservatory, because there's 2 manholes and they've been raised. And she says, you know what? I was just talking to a man who left the house, and I thought, that's the conversation I wanted to know about. Right? She says, I was just talking to this man. You know that he was the builder. He'd done all the work in this house. He said that he had done some, groundwork. It's structural work, subsidence. he had done some subsidence work on the house. It's called something, I forgot what it's called, it's completely left my mind now. But where you dig down and reinforce the house with pins because there's subsidence, the house is leaning to the left, right? So it's got to bring it right back to where it is and then put some more foundation underneath the house. He was the one who done that. And I thought, because that conversation that they were having did look like a very good conversation, but I thought maybe they know each other or something else was different. And she said, yeah, so he was saying, I said, oh, was he interested in buying? She says, oh, no, he wouldn't buy the house, but he just wanted to come back and see it. A lot of people are just looking because there were like 30 viewings that day, and I know not everyone's interested as a buyer. I think agents know that, which is why they give a lot of wasting time. They allow and allocate wasting time for wasting timers, you know? So he was only looking, but I got this great information because she ended up going more about the renovation. Then she started going on about him knowing the owner of the property and da da da. And I was like, talk about gold gems, okay? So really, when it comes to extracting information from an agent, you need to build rapport, be approachable, be conversational, right? Tell them a little bit about yourself. Maybe you can make it relative to something you have, maybe your own home or maybe an investment you purchased just down the road. They like to hear stories. They want to know about you so they can be invested in you successfully owning the house, right? And that's what it's all about. So I hope you found this information very useful, that you can now go away and pick out 10 or 15 questions from this to ask an estate agent when you're walking around, questions about a property to help you make an informed decision about a property. All this could go down as doing due diligence. This is not just about collecting previous sales. Due diligence encumbers many different elements of research all brought together to make one informed decision. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in another video. Take care. Bye.